Alright, welcome to another episode of Natty by Nature, plant to plate, foraging, gardening, and cooking. Another thing that keeps me really happy and healthy is my chilies, one of my favorite plants. I have about 100 different varieties growing, 5 different species of chilies. These are a couple of my favorites right here. This is the Capsicum baccatum species, which is usually only found in cool but tropical areas or low latitude areas. These are originally from Peru, Bolivia, Brazil, Ecuador, those parts of South America. These are not like the Mexican or Thai or Vietnamese or Chinese chilies that you usually see. It generally needs longer day lengths. That's why it grows well in tropical areas like Hawaii. This one, Aji Amarillo right here, is hands down my favorite chili in the world. It is not crazy spicy, about 5 times spicier than a jalapeno, about maybe 1/6 of a habanero or so. It's 50,000 Scoville units for those of you that work in Scovilles, meaning that 1 cup of this chili would take 50,000 cups of water to dilute below the threshold of perception, so it wouldn't be spicy anymore. So it sounds hot, but it's only a little bit hotter than a jalapeno. It is also crossed with a nice fruitiness that I say is kind of like a cross of dried apricot and jalapenos. So works great. It's used originally in ceviches and many other great Peruvian dishes. I did all my PhD research down in the Peruvian Amazon, so I got really hooked on these, and they're huge. They're probably a couple times bigger than jalapeno, and they grow really well in rainy Hawaii, so really psyched that my favorite chili in the world also grows really well here. Whereas things like ancho, guajillo, poblano, pasilla, jalapeno, those Mexican chilies that you know are fairly common, do not grow very well in these wet parts of Hawaii. This one here is Aji Omnicolor. It's called that because it turns from white to purple to kind of yellow, orange to deep red. So it goes through all these different color changes, which is really nice. This is equally hot, also Capsicum baccatum. The habaneros that you know and love are in the Capsicum chinense species group. They do pretty well here. Those are all the super hots. Like Carolina Reaper and Trinidad Scorpion, ghost chili that you hear people challenging themselves with all the time. They don't go quite as well as these, but I really like chilies for their flavor, not for their heat necessarily. A little bit of heat. I happen to carry around a couple of hot sauces on my keychain all the time, so I don't have to wait when I go out to eat. The habaneros and the super hots are in the Capsicum chinense. There is the Thai chili, or the sky pointing chili, or Hawaiian chili, or tabasco chili used to make the hot sauce. That is Capsicum frutescens. Capsicum annuum is all the Mexican chilies that I mentioned previously, like jalapeno and hatch chili and ancho, guajillo, etc. And the bell pepper is in the annuum. And then there's a quite rare one called rocoto, that's Capsicum pubescens, also known as manzano chili. They're quite big, almost the size of a bell pepper sometimes. They're way hotter than a bell pepper. They're twice as hot as these Aji Amarillo and maybe 1/3 of a habanero. So they're only about 100,000 Scoville units. Only, I say. They like cooler climates, so I really cannot grow them here. I have some friends on the Big Island who are at about twice my altitude, they're at about 1,000 feet. They can grow rocoto pretty well, and luckily they love that. That's their favorite chili. So shout out to Eli over there in Kona, who always sends me his beautiful Capsicum pubescens, and they're called that because they're fuzzy, and they are also tree chilies, so they are perennial. They grow to be huge, and they have incredibly beautiful purple flowers. So I'd really love to grow those, but I might need to install an air conditioner outside to grow those. So in terms of chilies, they are in the nightshade family, just like tomatoes, potatoes, tomatillos, tamarillos, tree tomatoes, tobacco. So some people don't like nightshades. It is one of my favorite families. Eggplant is also in there. I don't think I could survive without the nightshades. And I am the founder of the Nightshade Anti-Defamation League. I think nightshades get a bad rap, and they're actually incredible high proportion of edible species, and very few of them are poisonous if you compare it to something like the legume family, which we get a lot of food from, but there's also a huge number of poisonous species in that family. I like to do everything with chilies, from making fermented hot sauces like a sriracha, to putting them in ceviche, to just roasting them or smoking them and making chili powder, putting them on top of fried rice, or a nice Thai tom kha coconut soup. But I think with these I'm going to make a ceviche, hopefully with some passion fruit or lilikoi if I can find it, which is the original ceviche. The limes that are used currently in ceviche are originally from Asia, not from Peru, where ceviche was invented. So back in the day they're using passion fruit to sour and cook, chemically cook their fish. And I tend to like to pick them with a clipper so I don't hurt the stem. The good pruning of your chili plants is important. I also like to foliar feed them. So spray nutrients, both NPK and micronutrients on my chilies. These are definitely in need of it. They're heavy feeders. And in terms of the 5 C's for chilies, they have alternate simple leaves like most of the nightshades. This is just one leaf right here, and they alternate going back and forth on the stem. Usually sort of cup-shaped flowers, often white or yellow, purple in the case of the rocoto or manzano chilies. They are usually low herbs to shrubs. In terms of climate, they like it a little dry, especially the other species. This baccatum species can handle the constant rain. For cautions, of course, avoid chopping chilies and then touching your eyes. You might want to wear gloves or chop them with a fork and knife like I sometimes do when I'm dealing with the super hot ones. But some people still do like to eat the other members of the nightshade family, even the ones that are sometimes considered deadly, but a lot of that is identification confusion between the European and American ones. In terms of cultivation, I like to grow them in pots because there are a lot of soil nematodes that will eat the roots and kind of kill all the chilies. So I long ago gave up on growing most of my chilies in the ground. And that's probably something specific to Hawaii, just because we have a overabundance of pests here and overactive ecosystem where things grow really well and then they die really quickly. So I keep all of my chilies in pots now. Almost all of my nightshades, tomatoes and eggplants too. Definitely are heavy feeders, so you want to give them regular NPK fertilizer at least once a month, especially when they're flowering or fruiting. Some plants like this Aji Omnicolor is constantly fruiting, so I have to constantly give it food. The foliar feeding, as I said, is kind of amazing, and there's a few foliar feeds that you can do. Put it in a spray bottle. There's like azomite, there's the 13 essentials, there's Dynapro foliar, so there's a couple different brands that you can find pretty easily online. Some people like to use Epsom salts in the foliar feed to get a lot of magnesium on there, but those micronutrient foliar sprays have good amounts of calcium and magnesium, so they should do the trick. In terms of cooking, there's a million ways to cook chilies. So let's head into the kitchen and get these beautiful puppies cooking. Alright, we're back inside a few hours later. We're going to turn these beautiful Aji Amarillo peppers into a nice ceviche with some passion fruit or lilikoi juice. I got some really nice ono, some citrus. This is a local orange. You could use either cashews or peanuts, which are both native to South America, Peru, where ceviche was invented. Some form of cilantro, though the real native South American type of cilantro is actually thorny cilantro, or culantro it's called. We can't go garlic very well in Hawaii, so I'm using instead some garlic chives, which grow super well here, to get the alliums in there. and then a sweet potato, which is also native to South America and very common here in Hawaii. It's one of the canoe plants that you find all over. It's called uwala in Hawaii. A little bit of salt, lime inverter as I call it. I'm using a recipe from my friend Maricel Presilla's great book, The Gran Cocina Latina, multi-James Beard Award winner. She has several great recipes in this Pan-Latin cookbook. You can see it's quite a tome. So first thing I want to do is get the sweet potato roasting in the oven. This will not get cooked quite like the fish will, and you don't want to eat raw sweet potatoes, so let's get that baked. You can just put the oven on 350 and throw that in there. While we're doing that, we can start to put together the fish. Ono is a nice meaty white fish, a little bit like mahi-mahi, and I'm just gonna cube up this ono into like 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch cubes so they get cooked well. It's good if you can get sushi or sashimi grade fish. That will really make it much easier to make the ceviche or tirudito. The acids of the lime or the passion fruit really do essentially do the same thing as heat in terms of denaturing the proteins in there. It is a kind of chemical cooking that we're doing with acid. All right, now I got the fish all chopped up. Nice, I'm gonna just throw that in here. So I'm gonna add the lilikoi juice and just wanna kind of make sure you're immersing the whole thing in the liquid so it all gets cooked. Before we cut into it, let's get this zested up. It smells really good, and that will add to the nice aromaticness of the ceviche. Got that in there, and then I'm gonna just chop this in half, and one of my favorite kitchen utensils is what I call a lime inverter. I think they're from Mexico. They're often made out of cast iron, and they make quick work of juicing any kind of citrus. The nuts, which can be toasted or raw, a teaspoon or so of salt, and the heat in chilies is pretty much all in the membrane. A lot of people think it's in the seed, but it is not. It is in the white pithy membrane. Here you can see the seeds are attached to this white membrane. That's where most of the heat is. And the actual flesh here is not very hot. So you can eat the tip of a chili even if it's quite hot, and it will have almost no heat. Where if I did that with the middle of this, I'd be wincing in a little bit of pain even though I love chilies. So you can sort of guide how much heat you want in your dish by how much of the membrane you include. And I'm also going to try to save the seeds so I can plant them, since this is one of my favorite chilies. So while you're cooking, you can do seed saving. You can use fresh chilies or dried chilies for ceviche. I'm gonna fine mince these. One important thing is you do not want to touch your face after chopping chilies, because if you get any of it in your eye, you'll be in a great deal of pain. So beware that, or wear gloves, or use a knife and fork. Have a really nice kind of cross of chives and garlic smell to them. In addition to a great book on Latin cooking called La Gran Cocina Latina, has 2 excellent books that have also won James Beard Awards on chocolate, called The New Taste of Chocolate, and one on peppers, all the peppers of the world, like Aji Amarillo here, that is called Peppers of the Americas. And that's kind of my Bible for learning all the flavors of the different peppers. Get the chives in there. Some of these cilantro and culantro herbs. Didn't have too much of these, but you can use any kind of aromatic herbs that you like. You can see that the fish is already starting to cook, turning from translucent to opaque. Yeah, you can see that it's already getting quite opaque in there. So it only takes 5 to 10 minutes to really cook. Alright, so let me check on that. Yep, it's looking good and soft. Yeah, it cuts easily, so we can just chop this up into sections and throw it in there. The other tasty ingredients. I really love the taste of the sweet potato skins. As long as they're grown organically. Probably don't need this whole potato for just a ½ pound of fish, so I'll leave some to the side. And see how it's tasting. Yeah, the fish is starting to look fairly cooked. It's getting white on the outside. Tasting really delicious with all the floral lilikoi and the chilies. Nice mix of flavors, really fresh. Floral, tropical. This is one of my favorite dishes and favorite incarnation of it with passion fruit or lilikoi in the ceviche, the original Peruvian ceviche. Enjoy, and hope to see you on the next Natty by Nature. Keep putting the plants on your plate. See you next time. Please like, subscribe, and tell all your friends about us. Cheers!